Hi everyone, I'm Vanya Scott, Curatorial Assistant at the Golden History Museum and Park in Golden, Colorado, and I'd like to welcome you today to our off-site storage facilities somewhere near Denver. Today I'd like to share a little bit about my ongoing inventory project as it relates to a process called deaccessioning. Now, deaccessioning is the process by which artifacts are removed permanently from a museum's collection. As you can imagine, this isn't something that's undertaken lightly. There's a lot of consideration and thought and research given into each object that's being considered for deaccession. First of all, you have to ask yourself, does this object support the mission of the museum? And the mission statement for the Golden History Museum is to engage and inspire visitors by preserving and sharing golden history. If an object does not support that mission, then that's an excellent candidate for deaccessioning. No matter how compelling or how pretty or how valuable it might be, it still, first of all, needs to support the mission statement of the museum. Secondly, we want to ask ourselves, does it help document the history of Golden? So that's kind of taking it a level deeper. Does this object help document the history of Golden, of its residents, of its economy, of its cultural history? How does it help tell the story of Golden? So that's another way you can use, or another criteria you can use to evaluate whether an object should be deaccessioned or not. Another way that museum professionals use is to examine an object for its public health or hazardous risk to not only the public but also to the staff that cares for an object. We had an object in our collections that was deaccessioned a few months ago. It was called a Hardened Star fire grenade. It was a fire extinguisher, and it was dated about 1880. You can see the photos here. It was dated about 1880, hand-blown glass, and very, very toxic liquid contents. You would take this hand grenade, this fire extinguisher, and throw it at the base of a fire, and the glass would explode, and the chemical inside, the chemical fire suppressant, would smother the fire. Unfortunately, it had a toxic side effect. Anybody who was nearby when the chemicals became aerosolized would inhale it, and it would damage their lungs, it would damage their kidneys, and even damage their liver. So it was a very toxic item. And there are a few museums now and in past years who have collected these, and museum professionals have to evaluate whether or not this item is safe enough to be in the collection and safe enough to be exhibited. In our case, as you can see by these photos, we had an extinguisher that was badly corroding around the seal of it, and was becoming, as the years went by, more and more of a risk to the staff. We had kept it put away for many years, and finally we deaccessioned it and turned it over to be destroyed. Now, as you might know, part of the procedures and the process that I follow to work on my inventory is I take a box and I open it, and I pull an artifact out, and I find the catalog record in my database, and I begin to update the record for it. And I do that by describing the artifact, measuring it, taking photographs of it, and so forth. Recently, I found a box of items that seem to be good candidates for deaccession, but they're really interesting objects, and I thought I would share that with you today. Let's take a look. These are some of the items I found in that box. This group of items is part of a larger collection that came from a drugstore in Erie, Colorado, and they're dated to about the early 20th century, maybe 1912, 1915. We don't know who donated these things. The records are pretty sparse. But as you can see, they're pretty interesting artifacts. They're pharmacy, apothecary items, old cigar boxes, as you can see here, black draught. That's something you might be interested in trying out if you needed it. And one of my favorite items is called Life Everlasting. It's an herbal tonic that's supposed to make you feel good, I suppose. But whatever it does, I love the name. As you can see, though, these objects are very interesting. They're very compelling. They're very charming to look at, and they would make for interesting research and interesting exhibits. The thing is, though, that when we're considering these objects, we have to ask if they support the mission of the museum again, and if they help document golden history. And in this case, we can't find the provenance that supports that. So these items, as wonderful as they are being considered for deaccession. We're going to be researching them a little bit more and making sure that everything is in order before we do take them out of the collections. But for now, they're being put aside to be considered, and we'll be researching our documents and making our decision at a later time. Well, that's all we have time for today. I am so happy you stopped by, and I've enjoyed sharing some of my projects and thoughts and ideas with you today, as long as some of the interesting artifacts I'm finding. I hope that you come back again soon, and I'll share some more with you.